Hey, what is up everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another one of my videos. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at Dex Finance and how they are one of the most innovative teams that I have yet to see in DeFi. Now, before we jump into this video, make sure you guys like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure you hit that bell notification as these videos are very time sensitive. Now, right off the bat, Dex Finance is a tomb fork, but it has done a lot more. And I'm going to be jumping into exactly how that is. Now, as you guys can see on their main page, it says autonomously governed, yield driven. Dex Finance is a decentralized autonomous organization providing an ecosystem of financial products that aims at providing safe and sustainable yields. Now, I personally will be jumping into the most attractive elements of this project myself, and you guys can obviously come in and read a lot about them. They have a serious amount of information on their website, which is something obviously I really appreciate. And as you guys can see, like, the graphics are absolutely beautiful on this site. So if we look over on their menu tab, you guys can see they have a lot of things happening. One of the first things I personally always like looking at is the farms, because you guys already know I'm a farmer, I'm a Degen, so I always want to see how the APRs are looking like. So now this project actually runs off of several tokens, all right guys. Now generally a tomb fork has 3 tokens, right? So we have the peg token, we have the share token, and we have the bonds. However, here they have the peg token. So for example, here it's US Dex. They have the share token, which is Dex share, and then they have a numerous of other tokens such as the Dex IRA token, the Dex ETF token, the Wrap Dex token, and bond tokens, which all come together to help the peg. And what you can do with these tokens is essentially use them to generate yield. Now, obviously, right off the bat, you guys can see that it looks quite different from the general tomb forks. However, we still get that Degen APR. Now, I threw in a couple $100 in here just to see whether or not it is functional and how the price actually holds up. And I'm not gonna lie, my price has appreciated a little bit. And on top of that, as you guys can see, over the last couple of days, I made $58. Now, obviously, I went into the most Degen farm because it's a share farm. And as you guys can see, I've been earning 1500% APR. Now, if we take out the calculator real quick and we do 1500 divided by 365, you guys can see I've been making 4% of my money every single day. Now, I am going to be transferring a larger sum of money of my portfolio to the US Dex USDC farm, because this is essentially a stable farm. Now, and you guys need to really understand how this project works. So US Dex right now is worth $1.25. So if we open Dex Screener and you go into Dex Screener and you're at US Dex, you'll see the token right here at $1.24. Now remember, it's pegged to $1, so as long as it is above that 1.01 TWAP, which obviously since it's in US dollar, it's $1.01. So as long as US Dex, this token, is above $1.01, the protocol is going to be functioning as it's supposed to do. Now, obviously, if you look back here, you guys can see you're earning almost 2% every single day on basically what I would say is a stable coin. If we once again open the calculator and have a look, you guys can see 675% divided by 365. You're earning 1.85% every single day, which is a substantial amount of money. Even if somebody was to tell me that you're going to be in a project that earns 1% every day, I would be more than happy to get into it. Now, of course, you guys already know the markets have been catastrophic recently and we've been going straight down. But if we look at US Dex, it's been holding pretty well ever since they started this farm and ever since it has come up. And as a matter of fact, if you look right here, you guys can see we came above peg right on the 12th of May, and over the last 4 days it has been doing exponentially well, and we've been seeing a quite rapid growth upwards. Now, one of the core things of this project and why I am happy to put in a larger amount of money into this project is because of the fact that they have made it autonomous. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, if we actually look over to their white paper, guys, which, if I may say so myself, is very professionally built, as you guys can see. Once again, unlike any other white paper we've seen, they have videos in their white paper. You guys can go and have a look at it. You can go and have a look at everything in here. But specifically, I wanted to jump into one of their more important elements, which is namely the element of how does it work. So as you guys can see, they have the money market system diagram, and here, as you guys can see, it clarifies that what will happen is you will farm, right? So you'll use US Dex USDC or your Dex shared BNB, or you'll use your wrap Dex with Dex share. You'll farm that, and essentially that farm goes into the regulation pool. So let's have a look here. You come over here on the menu again, and you can hit over regulation, and you guys can see, similar to the boardroom, they have the regulation where you will be able to stake your Dex share and you'll earn Dex ETF. Now remember, you're not earning US Dex, and this is something really good in my opinion, because it obviously reduces and alleviates the sell pressure on the PEG token, so US Dex. And the first thing I actually want to highlight here, guys, is that the Dex DAO treasury will buy back US Dex in the event for the TWAP to drop below 1. The treasury will allocate a percentage of funds to buy back US Dex 1 epoch after the TWAP falls. And this is important because every other tomb fork, and I'm sure you guys have seen this as well, waits 3 epochs before they buy back. And this is really important because within 3 epochs, there's a lot of unlocking that happens. There's a lot of sell pressure that comes into the token. There's extreme amounts of panic and volatility that happens because 3 epochs, remember guys, can mean 1 whole day, 24 hours. And here what they're doing is actually they buy back after 1 epoch. So that removes the fear and panic that we see happen in every single tomb fork. Because you guys already know, when a tomb fork loses peg, what happens to the share price? What happens to the peg price? It dumps absolutely to 0 because everybody is panicked that the project is going to die, so they dump their tokens. But if there's an opportunity to wait just 1 epoch, right? Or if people are locked in to the boardroom or to the regulation for more than 1 epoch, then guess what? The project is going to buy back, and it's as if nothing happened at all. That's the number one thing that I want to talk about. And the second thing I want to talk about is how these buybacks happen, because we've seen manual buybacks fail a countless amount of times, be it tomb forks or titano forks or any types of projects. Buybacks that have manual elements behind it fail. And guess what, guys? This does not have the manual element behind it. And exactly, if you look right above here, guys, and hit the so what's different tab on the right, you guys can see that Dex Finance uses only one regulation staking pool. In this system, the price of the PEG token is regulated by smart contracts, not investors. And that is absolutely amazing. They are working and regulating the PEG token with smart contracts, not investors, which is something I am more confident in. Of course, I love all of you guys, but people panic, people sell, and you cannot predict what somebody else is going to do. But if I know what the smart contract is going to do, or if I have the abilities to read the smart contract, I know exactly what is going to happen, so I don't need to panic, I don't need to fear, and I know my money is safe. Now if you guys actually look further below and look at PEG regulation, which is one of the most important things, right guys, and I say this over and over and over again, we need to hold PEG. Tomb forks are probably my favorite thing to talk about, and holding PEG is the absolute most important element. Now, as you guys can see here, it says that the expansion supply of US Dex is determined based upon the TWAP. So we know that already. TWAP is the time weighted average price. This terminology, guys, by now, if you are investing in tomb forks and if you are watching my channel, it should be imprinted into your brain. Time weighted average price, because this is one of the most important elements of a tomb fork. Now, of course, every epoch, time weighted average price is greater than 1.01. The new US index will be minted at a maximum expansion of 4.5%. Very generous APRs when you're looking at 4.5%. However, rather than being distributed to regulations pool stakers, the new supply of US Dex is sent to the Dex DAO treasury, which can then be sold off based upon specific parameters and only after calculating factors such as price, circulating supply, and treasury backed assets. So let me explain this in layman terminology. We buy bonds, and when TWAP is above 1.01, we redeem our bonds and sell on the market. Now, what do we see happens normally in traditional tomb forks whenever we hit that 1.01? If we have a look at this random chart right here of a tomb fork, you guys can see every time we hit peg, boom, down. We hit peg, boom, down. We hit peg, boom, down. And why? Because traditional investors such as you and I will buy bonds at a lower price and then redeem it at a high price. We will, just take the profit and go elsewhere. And that's the problem, right? Because then the peg can't be held. It always goes up and then down, up and then down, up and then down. And it takes a serious amount of buy pressure in order to maintain peg. What they did differently here is, rather than immediately being distributed to regulation pool stakers, so rather than it being distributed to you and I, the new supply gets sent to the Dex DAO. Remember, this protocol is controlled by a smart contract, not by investors. And once again, guys, I love that so much. And as you guys can see, it says it can be sold off based upon specific parameters and only after calculating factors such as price, circulating supply, and treasury backed assets. Who better to calculate this than a bot or the smart contract, right? Obviously, calculating and taking all of these things into consideration without putting your own emotions would be very difficult, and as such, it is better that a smart contract does all of these elements, and that way we can always hold or always try to hover around that 1.01. And clearly, even though the market has been going to shit, we can see that this project's peg has been holding very, very nicely, even in comparison to, you know, the biggest of projects such as Tomb Finance. If you switch the price to Wrapped FTM up here, guys, you can see we are so far away from peg. Peg is right above, right up here, right at 1.01 area right here. We're so far away from peg. And why is that? Because the markets have been disgusting, so we lost peg and everything like that, and people have been losing a serious amount of money. But on US Dex, guess what happened? The total opposite. Because there is no emotions, there is no external influence, but rather, as we see right here, it is the Dex DAO treasury, the smart contract, that handles this element. Now you guys can look over the formula if you want here. That is the main element I wanted to talk about in this project, which is specifically in regards to the farms and how the US Dex USDC farm is probably one of the safer bets in the market, even in such a brutal condition. Now you guys might be thinking, oh, like, you know, we're 1.25 above peg. Like, as you guys see, we're above peg by quite a lot, but it doesn't actually matter that much. And me personally, I'm not going to be waiting that much in order to get into this project, even though of course the optimal position to get into the project is at this 1.01 mark. But obviously, if you can't get in here, getting in here is not that bad, especially if you guys use the impermanent loss calculator. So if at the current rate, if you're at $1.25 and token B is $1, so USDC, so this is US Dex and this is USDC, and the future price, let's say it goes to $1 and $1, let's say $1 1 cent, you actually, your impermanent loss is only 0.57%. And as we saw right here, you are earning 1.85%. So if your permanent loss is 0.5%, but your daily income is 1.85% as we calculated, you're obviously losing maybe like 1/3 of a day's worth of farm, which is why I think it's smarter not to wait for it to come down. Because even if, let's say, something happens and this price dumps all the way here, if we have a 20% dump, which I don't think is going to happen, because I said it's regulated by smart contracts, but even if it does come, because the projects do tend to come to peg at one time or another, you'll actually only be losing 1/3 of your day's yield. And as such, I don't think it's smart to not jump into this pool as soon as possible, because if you can just farm one day, you would have made up for your impermanent loss and a lot more, right, guys? As you guys can see here, if you held your tokens, it would be $900, and if you LP'd it, it would be $8.98, basically $8.99. You lose $1 if we do actually come back down to peg, whereas if you are farming, you get 1.8% every single day. Now this video, guys, I could probably talk about it for at least 1 hour because there's so many facets and elements to this project, so I might make a part 2. So now, guys, now you understand, we have the farm, we have the regulation, we have the wrap tokens. And by the way, guys, I definitely suggest you guys jump into their Discord if you haven't already. They have over 4,500 members, as you guys can see right here. And look at this, guys. The first thing that is written here, a quick lesson on wraps tokens. One of the greatest features of this pool is the ability to earn Dex share without any risk of impermanent loss. So if you guys are afraid of this impermanent loss as well, then you can actually farm on this project without any impermanent loss, and that's something I've never seen before. Now, how do you do that? Well, as you guys can see, it says, while having additional liquidity creates trading depth for a token, in this case, it would allow for people to game the system and potentially create a path for people to sell their Dex IRA without having to pay the sales tax. That being said, we wanted to create a pool which would give investors the ability to use their Dex IRA to farm in money market while also creating utility for Dex share, and thus we came up with the wrap Dex share. So as we saw right over here, you guys see a wrap Dex share farm, and as you guys can see, it's about 2% here as well every single day that you would be earning without any impermanent loss. Why didn't you get impermanent loss? Well, that's because it's just a wrap token with 2 tokens inside. The wrap Dex is 2 tokens wrapped together. So you can head over to the menu, you click wrap, and you'll be able to wrap these 2 tokens right here and claim your wrap Dex IRA. So you would have Dex IRA and you would have Dex share, you would wrap it, and once you wrap these 2 tokens, you would be able to get wrapped Dex IRA, and then you would come back over to the farms, and then you would use your newly wrapped Dex to farm here for 2% every single day. Now back over to the Discord, it says right here that the ratio is dynamically set to mimic that of an LP, but anything you put inside the wrapper, you'll receive back when you unwrap. Absolutely brilliant, if you ask me. The ratio is set to mimic that of an LP. Do you guys understand the level of brain that was put into this? The amount of IQ dedicated to this project, in my opinion, is absolutely mind-blowing, right guys? Because the ratio is made so that this is mimicking a liquidity pool, but you don't have the impermanent loss that you would face if you were in a liquidity pool, right? This is very high level stuff, which is why I definitely suggest you guys do your own research. Jump into their Discord, hop onto the general chat. They are very active. As you guys can see, even the most recent message was from their admin team. So these guys are very active. As you guys can see, there's always a moderator or the actual admins in the chat, and everybody's making money. Well, these guys have figured out a way to automate the system so that even if you do get into the normal liquidity pools, your impermanent loss is very little. As I showed you guys right here, impermanent loss is 0.57. And you know why that is? Because they didn't peg to some native token, they pegged to USDC. And as you guys know, even with the current issues with algorithmic stablecoins and everything, it has been understood by everybody that USDC is one of the most, if not the most, stable coins in the game, because it is backed 1-to-1. So the fact that these guys have used this as their peg token just shows me once again how smart they are. They didn't go for USDT, they didn't go for other stable coins that are available, but rather they went for USDC, the token that is legitimately backed by 1-to-1 in real life. So that being said, guys, I know this video was packed with a lot of information. If you guys do like these kinds of videos, make sure you guys hit that like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm, and of course it is a free way to support the channel. I appreciate every single one of you, and I definitely do want to see you guys in the Crypto Degen Discord. We love talking about tomb forks and everything of the sort. I would welcome you all there. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week. And with that being said, guys, let's get that bag. Peace.